Now we move on to the second batch of Blue Moon missions, and this is where the difficulty ramps up quite a bit. Things start getting pretty serious from this point on. And I'm going to start with Olaf's second mission, which is one that gave me a lot of trouble the first time I played. Now, not quite so much, but it's quite difficult for newer players, this one. Anyway, in this mission, we have to take out an enormous missile silo. And we've got allies. Yes, help from Orange Star. This is actually the first mission in the campaign mode where you get allies, and I'm going to talk about exactly how that works because it's quite different to how it does in some other games of the genre. Of course, Olaf's a little unwilling to cooperate, which is interesting because that kind of reflects in the gameplay of this mission as well as the storyline. Anyway, there's quite a lot to talk about here. Now, this is a pre-deploy map, and you start off with quite a large-sized force, but it's all separated by the pipes. Pipes, yeah, this is the first time you'll be seeing pipes outside of a factory mission. And pipes effectively act as impassable walls. Yes, even for air units. They must be really, really tall or something. I don't know how that works. But anyway, yeah. As you'll later find out, the seams are destructible, and if you destroy one, it'll create a gap that will allow your units to pass through. Right, now, as I said before, Olaf's forces are split into 3 groups. The north one has the infantry. Now, this is very, very important. You need to... Damn it, I wanted that mech to get in the APC. Load those APCs as soon as possible and get them as close to that pipe seam, because they're going to have to rush through once we break it. Trust me, this is very important. The actual objective of this mission isn't revealed until about a couple of turns in. That's probably why it kind of stumps newer players, because they're kind of unsure what to do in the first few turns. You have to really play this beforehand to know how to approach this, but basically, you want to get your infantry loaded into APCs as soon as you can. Now, the lower portion of the map, however, is the one that looks the most dangerous, because Flak has a large army of bombers and helicopters coming towards you, and all you have is 3 anti-airs, a couple of mechs and rockets, which aren't going to help you against the air units. So, you want to capture this airport as soon as you can, but after you do, there's really not all that much you can do on this bottom map, unless you somehow manage to break the pipe seam quickly and send in reinforcements. Now, anyway, right, now we're to Andy's turn, and yes, this is the thing I was going to mention about how allies work in this game. In the campaign mode, whenever you have allies in a mission, you control them as well. In fact, you control all players who are on your side. So basically, there's no computer-controlled NPCs in this game. You actually have full control over everyone. Which, of course, is very useful, and you need this kind of control if you're going to go through the ranks. Basically, yeah, as you'll see here, Andy has quite a large-sized air force, but no infantry, or, yeah, anything else, really. And he has no bases, so this is all he's gone. So try and conserve it. Of course, it's good that it's Andy, because his powers can heal his units, which is very good when you've only got a limited number. Now this fighter, I'll probably explain a bit later, but the fighter, seeing as all of Flak's air units are down the bottom half of the map, the fighter's pretty useless unless you somehow manage to get it all the way down to the lower front, which is unlikely, actually. Anyway, the central thing, you'll notice that, yeah, the missile silo is very heavily guarded. You'll need to watch out for those missiles, the missile units, because they're quite a big threat to Andy's force. You want to take them out as soon as you can so that his force can pass through. I'll generally talk about my tactics with coordinating the two armies a bit later, but now we finally find out, yeah, how to do that. Yeah, see those 8 cities surrounding the tower? You gotta capture all 8 of them. You have to capture all 8 of them before time runs out. Now, I already explained about the pipe before, but... Now, when I first played this mission, I admit I was thinking something like, wait a minute, there's 8 properties. It takes you 2 turns to capture each one. That's a total of 16 turns. You don't have that much time. Actually, once you get to capturing these properties, you'll notice that you need to make sure you start capturing at least 2 at a time. But you will start capturing them pretty quickly, but first you need to deal with the forces guarding them, especially these rockets, because they're quite a big threat to the medium tanks, and you don't want them to get damaged because they're your main heavy hitters, and you want to keep them for when Flak starts getting really serious. Because one thing about this battle, it is, well, brutal is the one way I describe it. Essentially, yeah, you've got a lot of really powerful units, but so does Flak. So, basically, it's a lot of, yeah, large numbers of powerful units clashing. Gets quite brutal. That's why you want to conserve your medium tanks. Now, capturing these cities actually isn't really going to do anything, but I'm just doing it mainly because, well, the infantry really have nothing better to do. Yes, be ready with the APCs to rush through once that pipe seam is broken. Those 2 anti-airs will be better served on the lower part of the map, but it'll take a while to get them there. Right, now after I've done this... Alright, it's down to the lower area. Now, none of those air units can reach us yet, which gives me enough time to capture the airport, but that mech will probably die. Sorry, but their sacrifice will not be in vain, because we will have that airport, and I'll just position these anti-airs to counter-attack when the inevitable attack comes. Don't want these rockets to get hit, just hide them away. And generally that one mech is probably best hidden away too. Now, Andy. And again, careful when advancing, because you don't want to go into range of that. So, you know, what we can do is somewhat limited until that thing's gone. So, what my plan is to break that pipe seam, but wait till Flak's units, especially his anti-airs, have moved forward and engaged Olaf. Then smash the pipe seam, rush Andy's units through and hit them from behind. That sounds like a pretty good plan. Now, if I manage to break that pipe seam, the bomber may be able to fly through and hit those missiles before they get to shoot us, which is very useful. Well, I mean, that would help a great deal. And it's generally okay to use the fighter really as a sacrifice. It's not gonna... And that APC, even though it doesn't seem like it at first, that APC is crucial. Don't let that APC be destroyed. If you know how air units work, you'll understand why. Now, of course, he got just enough for his normal power, so he uses it. But I don't think it's actually going to do much, seeing as he doesn't really have much that can attack us. It's just really those 2 rockets. At least he's hitting the regular tanks and not the medium tanks, that's good. Anyway. Now, yeah, there's quite a lot I want to talk about in this mission, but I've got the time to do it because, yeah, this is a long mission. This is probably one of the longest so far. Mainly because there's really so much combat, actually, but still, yeah, that mech is pretty much doomed. Flak does have one base down there, but he's generally only going to be producing infantry out of it, and it's going to take them the whole... Basically, by the time they actually... anything he produces from that base, actually, by the time it reaches you, the mission will be just about over, so it's not much of a threat. Now I want to do as much damage to those bombers as possible. Because, as you may have seen before, if bombers get first strike, they're actually quite a big threat to anti-air guns, which you don't want since these things are really our only defense. Now, I've got Olaf's normal power, but I'm not going to use it yet. I'm going to save up for the super. Which I normally prefer to do with Olaf, because generally I find his superpower to be generally better than the normal version. Yeah, that neck up the top better run and hide. Careful. See, I've already got one of the 4 stars I need for the super anyway. And speaking of his super, this mission demonstrates one interesting thing to note when playing as Olaf. And I actually find this quite interesting because it's a case where story and gameplay actually totally fit each other. Basically, one thing about Olaf is not a good team player. What I mean by that is, he does not work well with allies. And I'll demonstrate exactly why a little bit later, but the main reason is, Olaf's snow that he creates through his powers, that'll slow down his allies as well as his enemies. So, yeah, if you're playing... What I'm saying is, if you're playing a team mission, I'd recommend staying away from using Olaf. Because... yeah, especially if you're doing a multiplayer game with people on teams, you'll piss off your teammates a lot if you use Olaf. Because, yeah, the snow slowing them down is really going to ruin their plans, and it's alright ruining your enemy's plans with it, but you don't want to ruin your allies at the same time. It's even worse in this mission because Andy has mostly air units, and they're very severely affected by snow. Well, of course, if you're playing a free-for-all game, like every man for himself, then Olaf's pretty awesome, because you just use your superpower and everyone except you gets slowed down. But, yeah, in team games, not so much. Which is why later in the campaign you won't be seeing much of Olaf, because many of the later missions where you have the option to select your commander are battles involving teams, and especially not good in campaign mode if you're slowing down your allies, because of course that'll be very bad for speed ranking. In fact, you won't actually see me use Olaf after this mission in the campaign mode. And it's because of that reason. He does not work well with allies. Again, kind of funny that, because he's like that story-wise as well. I mean, I've read a lot of walkthroughs for, well, both, not really this so much, but for the original Advance Wars, that go on about how Olaf is pretty much the worst character in the game. I don't completely agree with that, because again, I've said before that his strength is disrupting the enemy as opposed to powering himself up. And in the right circumstances, it can be very useful. But yeah, just take note of that one weakness. He's not good on teams. There is another character who'll be appearing later on who also gets quite heavily bashed in certain walkthroughs, but mainly those people just don't know how to use her correctly. Because I said her, any Advance Wars veterans will probably understand what I'm talking about. Admittedly, her main advantages are rendered totally useless in War Room, but in multiplayer, she's really dangerous. Well, I am, of course, talking about Sonya here, but I won't be using Sonya until the Yellow Comet campaign, which is a bit later, but just wanted to get that out of the way.